My experiences with cancer went one day. I checked my breasts and I found a little lump. So I immediately made some arrangement to have a biopsy. I don't remember how I made the arrangement.
How old are you?
40, 42, 43, something around there.
So Sharon had already had cancer?
Yeah, my daughter had already had cancer. So I was always very aware of my body. I made sure I didn't feel any lumps anywhere. And all of a sudden I found what I thought was a lump on my breast. So I called up the man that had treated my daughter and asked him who to go see. He sent me to a surgeon. I went in for a biopsy. When in those days, when you went in for any hospital visit, not visit, stay, you had to have a chest X-ray first. I went to Memorial Hospital in New York, had my chest X-ray, and went in to have the biopsy of the area of the breast that I was worried about. And I no sooner got into the hospital than the surgeon came to me and said, well, your breast's fine, feels fine, and we'll see, we'll do a biopsy and look at it. But on the open, coming in for the x-ray, they found a large lump in one of my lungs. So I instead of just having a biopsy, I ended up having a lung removed. And now I realize, now that I have a reoccurrence, I realized how naive I was. I said, okay, well, they want to take one lung away. Fine, we'll manage on one lung. And I wasn't terribly worried about having cancer. I didn't know anybody that had it, so I, yeah, except for Sharon, but I thought of it as, something that comes in out of the blue and could or could not be fatal. Anyway, I was really naive. Went in, had my operation, and recovered from that fairly easily. I think it took about 5 days before I was able to sit up and walk around. But it took much longer than that to actually go out. Then went through um, 5 weeks of intensive radiation by staying at my daughter's house every other night and going into the hospital every day. We worked something out. By the end of that time, I was able to uh, take the train by myself. Otherwise, somebody had to either drive me in or I stayed at my daughter's house. So but somehow, none of this scared me. I just assumed that things would be all right, even though my daughter had not recovered. I explain this, I don't know. Because I knew partially what the problem had been with my daughter because the surgeon spilled some of the cancerous fluid in her abdomen.
What?
And she ended up with a lot of tiny, tiny uh, cancerous nodules all over her abdomen.
You said he messed up?
He messed up.
But why? What was he doing?
Oh, his hand tilted a little bit.
When he was taking out
Yeah,
the tumor?
right. Um, the answer to surviving cancer, providing there's nothing, no other reason, is luck all the way through. I don't think it's anything more than that. I mean, luck is when you find it early enough. Luck is when you find a doctor that knows what to do and is competent to do it. And then you go on and live because there's more important things than worrying about your health that you want to do with your life. But I did the radiation and was dismissed. And then 2 years later, I found myself, because the main thing after you do have cancer is to very carefully uh, examine your body all over as much as you can, faithfully. I found my second tumor myself by keeping an eye on any lumps that might occur anywhere in the body and went to get chemotherapy. This lasted for um, years. 5 years of intensive chemotherapy and 3 years of tapering off the chemotherapy. It was not easy having to do this because I knew that if I told anybody I had cancer, I would be fired. It's one way or another. So I kept it a secret. My once a month trips into New York for chemotherapy, I said a different excuse every time. I never told anybody how I got my. Nobody, nobody snitched on me when I went from Scrib to Princeton. So they didn't know, and I never told them. You don't tell, at that point, you don't tell when you have cancer because they would figure out some way of getting rid of you that it's an expense for them. Long-term expense. Anyway, I managed, and then finally the doctor decided to retire and took me off chemotherapy, which was a relief not to have to go into New York once a month, although my daughter was living there, and so this gave me a chance to visit my daughter and the children, one child at that time. So it wasn't a lost day.